Big ship battles, new missions, and the first real signs that the next major update is almost here. 4.1.1 is shaping up fast, and if the timing holds, we could see it hit live servers right alongside Invictus in May. This week we've seen steady progress through the PTU builds, polishing ship battle missions, expanding combat gameplay, and even laying the groundwork for a couple of brand new missions that could breathe fresh life into daily contracts. We'll break down everything that's changed, from the patch notes you need to know, to the surprises still hiding behind that redacted label, plus a few hints at what's just around the corner for 4.1.1. Welcome back to Last Week in the Verse. Alright, let's actually talk about what happened last week in the PTU, because we finally saw some real momentum, and it all kicked off on Tuesday. The early builds were all about stabilizing ship battle missions version 1. At that point, ambush missions and Gilly's advanced combat gauntlet were both live for testing, but ship patrol missions had been temporarily disabled. CIG said they'd bring them back online in a few days, and surprisingly, they did. We also got the usual and honestly much needed wave of stability fixes and bug passes, especially targeting the Redeemer, which at that point felt like it was held together by duct tape and pure faith. Now, Tuesday's patch also came with a little reminder. A lot of content was technically in the build, but not ready for testing yet. Fleet Week events, new missions, the mission meshing refactor affecting stuff like comms array hack missions, animal capture missions, courier runs, PvP bounties, they're all lingering in there. Plus, they're laying early groundwork for new collector rewards and updated NPC comms calls. Oh, and of course, in true Star Citizen fashion, they slipped in a redacted mission somewhere in the back end. Because hey, if there's one thing you can count on, it's a little mystery baked into every PTU. By Wednesday, things started picking up. Ship patrol missions were back, so if you were itching for a more traditional patrol loop, you have it. Handyman missions also came online. These are maintenance-focused missions, finally giving players something different to go to than go here, shoot that, jump here, mine this. It wasn't a massive expansion yet, but it was the first time all week we really saw the testing pool grow. They also pushed another wave of bug fixes. The heads-up display on the Arrow was potentially fixed. Missing patrol markers and satellites should finally be there now. MFD and comms polish are still ongoing, but they managed to fix a few issues. Now, I say potentially a lot because, well, you already know how it goes. It's Star Citizen. Fixes sometimes stick, and sometimes they break two other things. But you could feel the forward movement. Thursday's build, though, that's when things actually got a little interesting. Handyman missions and ship battle missions stayed active, but CIG swapped out the Idris for the Polaris in the high-level ambush missions. Now, if you've fought the Idris before, you already know that thing is a beast. Swapping it out for the Polaris changes the tone of the fight. It's still a serious threat, but now it moves like the Corvette it was designed to be. Heavier, more directional, and far less nimble. Its presence feels more deliberate, more predictable, and that makes the fight feel different in all the right ways. And let's be honest, the Idris being in that mission came with a very real problem. It was stealable, which means if they left it in, we probably would have seen a metric ton of Idrises flying around the verse before Invictus even began. Chaotic? Absolutely. But also a quick way to tank balance. So it makes sense that they pulled it when they did. Speaking of flight tuning, CIG also disabled proximity assist by default. So if you notice your ship handling a little differently than usual when landing this week, that's why. Now, it didn't affect me at all. I always have prox assist turned off, but for everyone else, it's a subtle shift that might catch you off guard. Might be time to revisit those manual landings and get reacquainted with how your ship really flies up close. Now, they also made a small but important change to the economy. Some Pyro outposts now sell full Cambria Light salvage canisters. First hints of a real salvage economy finally showing up on the radar. And bug fixes kept stacking up too. Retaliator elevator bugs, females clipping through the Guardian's cockpit, security guards who politely ignored you even if you had a crime stat 3 or higher, are all getting addressed. And thank God they finally fixed players getting kicked for being AFK while still loading into the game. That was always a fun one. You could tell that they were laying tracks for something much bigger. And then Friday hit, and suddenly everything clicked into place. 2 big mission additions dropped. First, the Hunt the Polaris mission. Basically, a stolen Polaris is loose in Stanton, and the CDF needs you to track down and destroy it. Now, only 1 mission spawns at a time, and it's shareable. So yeah, if you see it pop, rally your squad fast. Second, the UEE training missions. These are low difficulty missions meant to teach newer players how to handle ship combat. They're basic, but honestly, it's a smart move with Invictus right around the corner. And it wasn't just missions. They kept tuning ships too. The 890 jump and the Reclaimer got new flight characteristics to feel heavier and more grounded. The Polaris got its main turret gun rebalanced to hit harder. They even added recoil effects to the Polaris main turret, so it finally feels like you're firing something that could wreck a small building, not just buzz a few flies. Even ship components got some love. Military parts now actually perform better in combat, not just carry a fancy label. Meanwhile, the bug fix train kept rolling. Mission progression in ship battles has also been fixed. Reputation bugs for the headhunters was supposedly patched. And that quantum bug where you'd randomly fly straight through a moon during quantum travel has hopefully been eliminated. They were cleaning up elevator panels, refinery job issues, missing scan data, armor texture bugs. It was basically an all hands on deck sprint to polish as much as they could before Invictus kicks off. But tucked inside the PTU build was something unexpected. Mentions of flight blades, which even made a quiet appearance in the Invictus showroom. Now the big question is, are these meant for turret control, or will you be able to manage and have your ships flown by AI blades? Or are they something entirely different? Honestly, as of right now, it's anyone's guess. Personally, unless engineering is quietly being added behind the scenes, which seems unlikely, dropping AI blades into the game this early would be a bit of a curveball. Still, I could absolutely see CIG testing the waters here. Getting these systems in now would give them a long tail for balancing, refinement, and player feedback well before 1.0. And with ship combat heating up and polish actually starting to land, if these breakdowns help you stay ahead of the chaos, consider hitting subscribe. I put these together every week so you can skip the patch note deep dives, dodge the worst bugs, and get back to doing what you actually want to do. Flying, fighting, and maybe even snagging yourself a stolen Polaris along the way. Even with all of this progress this week, 4.1.1 isn't locked in yet. There's still more coming, and a lot of it's aimed at deepening gameplay. We know 4 new hairstyles are on the way. A small touch, sure, but it's nice to finally get a little more character variety. Less chance of having 20 clones of the same haircut crowding the elevator at Area 18. There's also a brand new redacted space combat mission being quietly worked on. Not ready for testing yet, but it's setting up in the background. And honestly, the biggest thing? The space combat mission expansion. Patrol missions, ambush setups, UEE training chains, they're laying the foundation for a real daily mission variety system. The kind of structure Star Citizen's combat gameplay has been needing for years. We've even got a new weapon on the horizon, the Volt SMG Quartz, which is a compact, high-damage submachine gun that's already lurking in PTU builds. And personally, I'm excited about it. Ship combat has needed a shot in the arm for a long time. Adding patrols, ambushes, system-wide bounty hunts like the Hunt the Polaris, that's the kind of layered gameplay that could really change how players approach contracts day to day. More options for solo players, better mission chains for orgs, and more meaningful reasons to stay in space between big events. It's still early, but if they keep this pace up, 4.1.1 could add exactly the kind of depth Star Citizen needs right now. New missions, more layered combat scenarios, and fresh gameplay loops we've been missing for a while. It's the kind of update that doesn't just pad out the game. It actually makes logging in feel exciting again. Now switching over to video updates, and there's a lot to unpack from Star Citizen Live last week. First up, the big theme was narrative, and honestly, it's something I was really happy to see them dig into. Dave Haddock and Will Weisbaum sat down to talk about how Star Citizen's ongoing story is evolving, not just on paper, but inside the game itself. The big focus right now is the Regen Crisis. Now, if you caught my survival video a week ago, you might remember me talking about how CIG could eventually tie survival deeper into gameplay, with things like Ibrahim spheres becoming critical for reviving and your imprint slowly degrading the more you die. That system could add a huge amount of meaningful risk to death. And sure enough, this lore is laying the groundwork for exactly that kind of system later on. Right now, the lore says that the regen technology across the UEE is starting to fail, but it's not affecting players yet. Instead, it's a backdrop, a living, breathing story that's going to evolve through missions, events, and interactions throughout this year. And I really like that approach. I think it makes the world feel more alive without slamming players with hardcore mechanics before the game's ready for it. They also made it clear that this is just the first chapter. As patches continue to roll out, the consequences of the Regen Crisis are going to become more visible in missions, in NPC chatter, and maybe even in how contracts are structured later this year. It's still early, but this is the kind of slow burn story evolution that could genuinely add a ton of depth to the game if they keep building on it. And speaking of building on things, they finally addressed something I've been hoping to hear for a long time. More cinematic and immersive storytelling is coming. Now, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you might remember I made a video talking about exactly this. How important it is that Star Citizen moves beyond pure text walls and really embraces cinematic delivery. Characters talking to you, real dialogue, atmosphere and story you can feel happening around you. And hearing them say out loud that they want less pure text reading and more audio logs, video comms, and in-game story beats was incredibly encouraging. They even confirmed that audio logs are targeted to land this year, and that more NPC comms calls with actual character dialogue are already being folded into missions right now with 4.1.1. It's obviously not full Mass Effect level storytelling yet, but it's a real step. And more importantly, it shows that they're finally serious about evolving how they deliver narrative, not just writing lore on a website and hoping players dig it up. One thing I'd still love to see eventually is an in-game version of the Galactopedia, something you can pull up on your mobi-glass to browse history, organizations, and ongoing events without having to leave the universe. And realistically, that might not be too far off. When they eventually roll out the new social UI rework with friends lists, org tools, looking for group, and Spectrum-like communications, there's a good chance features like that could naturally slot into place over time. Now, they also mentioned that Xenothreat isn't gone for good, and that's music to my ears. It's one of the best PvE events they've ever done, and with server meshing, bringing Xenothreat back could be even bigger and more chaotic than ever before without all the bugs and server desync. Same with Siege of Orison, which has always been one of my favorite events in the entire game. I'd love to see it return, especially now that they've likely had time to polish some aspects of it even further. And there was a lot of great discussion about faction development too. Frontier Fighters are officially going to be a full-on hostile faction moving forward, so players are going to have clear enemies to fight against the coming updates. Faction reputation will also become system spanning, meaning if you build up trust with a group like Foxwell in Stanton, that relationship could carry into other systems like Castra, Terra, and beyond. And while some smaller gangs like the Fire Rats and Overlords aren't gone in lore, CIG is focusing on larger, better supported factions to keep the gameplay focused and engaging, which honestly feels like the smarter long-term move. Overall, it's clear that lore isn't just wallpaper anymore. It's starting to shape missions, reshape locations, and actually give players a real sense of participating in a living, breathing universe, even in alpha. It's not going to replace Star Citizen's sandbox roots, but adding even a little more emotional weight to why you're fighting, salvaging, hauling, or exploring. That's the kind of thing that turns a good experience into a memorable one. And I'm genuinely excited to see where it lands. Now, looking at the big picture, Star Citizen 4.1.1 feels like it's shaping up to be a real inflection point. We're seeing more polished hit combat missions. We're seeing deeper narrative threads being laid, not just in background lore, but in how missions unfold, how the world breathes, and how the players are slowly being given ways to be part of the story themselves. It's not trying to reinvent the game overnight, but it's steadily adding more layers of depth, more reasons to care about what's happening around you beyond just another contract payout or another ship upgrade. It feels like we're finally starting to step beyond the early tech demo era and into a world that's telling stories, building relationships, and giving players opportunities to actually matter to the universe around them, even if it's in small ways for now. If CIG keeps moving in this direction with better mission variety, more meaningful storytelling, and broader social tools to pull players together, Star Citizen could evolve into a living, breathing frontier where every patch brings new stories, new risks, and new ways to leave your mark. There's still a long road ahead, there's no doubt about that. And there are still a lot of missing pieces before it feels truly complete. But honestly, patches like this, even if they seem small at first, are exactly the foundation the game needs to keep growing into something special. But let me know what you think about everything that happened last week in the verse. Do you think enough progress was made on the upcoming patch? Do you think the storyline is exactly what we need? Or do you have other thoughts? Now, if you want to go even further and help support the channel directly, consider becoming a channel member. It's one of the best ways to support these weekly deep dives, and it helps keep this kind of content coming your way every single week. Plus, members get early access to member-specific content, members-only channels in my Discord, and shoutouts in every video. And if you're curious about where things are heading even further, especially with gameplay like crafting, base building, and deeper player-driven systems, definitely check out my video diving into how these features will eventually change the entire Star Citizen experience. It's packed with information on what's coming next and how players like you will be at the heart of it. As always, thanks for watching. Fly safe, pilots, and I'll see you in the verse. Havoc out.